So, bit of an update on my little repair video for the FM Towns. What I decided to do is, while I was ordering all the capacitors for the FM Towns, I thought, why not order some more caps and do my X68000 monitor as well, because I've been having some problems with that, with fluctuating brightness. I'm not sure whether that is capacitor related. I'm hoping it is, because this thing is just filled to the brim with capacitors. If you look at the chassis board here and the AV board and the neck board, and then we have the power supply here, there's just a ton of caps. So I'm hoping that the replacing all of these, probably over 100 capacitors, is going to solve the problem, but I do not know yet. It might be a cold solder joint or some other part that is failing. So I'm actually waiting for the FedEx to come with my caps today. So once they do, I will start with the monitor first, and we'll do an update video to see whether or not it worked or not. Okay, guys, the FedEx guy just came by with my capacitors, and as you can see here, these are all really high quality capacitors from Mauser. When it comes to the devices that I really care about, they are basically my babies, and I like to spoil them. When I want to recap them, I usually go for the highest quality that is, well, highest quality within reason. So I try to get at least 108 degrees Celsius capacitors rated at 5,000 hours and above, and if at all possible, I try to get the low ripple caps. And I only buy from Nishikon and Rubicon because, well, they're Japanese brands, and all the devices that I recap are Japanese. So, and also Nishikon and Rubicon are name brands within capacitors, so if you buy from them, you know you're gonna get the good stuff. Now, one thing you should probably not forget about when you start to do the recapping is you need some sort of a marker, because if we look here, for example, once you start replacing these caps, at some point, you're just gonna lose kind of a overview over which you've replaced and which you haven't. Of course, you could just flip the board and look on the underside and see which ones have the long legs. But if there are enough caps on the motherboard, like for example on the chassis here, there's just tons. It can be a challenge to find out which you've replaced and which you haven't. So one suggested thing is just buy a marker of some sort and just mark the ones you replaced. That way you can just look at a glance, you can see which you've replaced and which you need to replace. And so I got my work cut out for me. I think maybe if I work through the day, by tonight I might be able to be done with the monitor at least. If not, it's gonna take at least 2, maybe 3 years, days. I mean, to do the monitor and the FM Towns. Now, one thing that I'm struggling with right now is, as you can see here, I've taken the top part of the motherboard away, and that's because I wanted to get to access to these solder joints here. I wanted to remove the solder here so I could remove the CPU, the 386, and install a kind of a socket here. That way I can swap the CPUs between this and a upgraded version, a 486 that's kind of designed to be a drop-in replacement. That way the games would have a little bit more power to work with. The thing is, these these solder joints here, they just are very stubborn. The equipment that I have right now are just not capable of removing the tiny bit of solder that is on here without me maybe damaging the very fine traces that you can find here. Now, I know someone who works at a company that actually has access to professional equipment that can remove this through some sort of an automated process. I think there is some sort of a heat gun that is directed at the chip you want to remove, and then there is a suction cup on the underside, and it just pops the CPU out. Now I'm considering giving him this motherboard and asking him to maybe remove the CPU. The thing is, if I do that, then I will have to buy the socket and the CPU, and then I will have to wait longer. I will have to wait for those to arrive. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 weeks. And I kind of just want to be done with this and put it back together and start playing some games. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. But to begin with, I'm just going to replace all the capacitors. Well, I'm going to do another update video once that is done. So, final update before I make a test video where I've exchanged all the capacitors. I was going to complete it, the entire recapping of the monitor tonight, but to my astonishment, I discovered that I had missed the capacitors here, all of them, because they were underneath this little shield that had been soldered into place, and I had just not noticed that there were a bunch of capacitors underneath that. And in addition to that, if we look at the neck board here, one thing that I have missed out on is that it has, not only here but also other places, there are these capacitors which are bipolar, and I had just I had completely missed that these were bipolar, and I had just noted down that there were, I think all of the bipolar ones that I've seen are 1 microfarad 50 volts, and unfortunately all the ones that I've ordered to replace these are polar caps. And you can't use those where bipolar caps are supposed to go. Those caps will fail if you do that. So what I need to do is I need to find a place to buy these from. This is really troublesome because all the places that are available to me that sell high quality caps, they demand very high shipping. So the trick was I made a very big order for all the caps that I have now, and for really big orders like that, like I think it ended up costing me around $80. The shipping was free, so I should have made sure to have to order everything that I needed, but unfortunately I missed out. So one thing to notice when you go around and you're noting down the capacitors. Now these were only, I think, 5 in all out of like over 200 capacitors. Just pay attention, because every once in a while there might be a bipolar cap here and there, and yeah, don't end up in a situation like I did. So yeah, I'm gonna have to find those caps and order the ones that are supposed to go here. And I might as well, while I'm waiting, I'm probably going to do the desoldering of the CPU on the FM Towns, because I don't really have a monitor to test it with if I don't fix my X68000 monitor. So yeah, hopefully my next video is just gonna be of everything done and put together, and then we can do a little bit of gameplay or what have you.